Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, has been hailed as a trailblazer and a pioneer for women in leadership positions. But what if I told you that behind the scenes, Barra has made some devastating mistakes that have cost her company millions of dollars or could cost them as much? Well, in this video, we'll delve deep into Mary Barra's tenure as CEO and explore her leadership mistakes as a CEO. Get ready to be blown away by the jaw-dropping mistakes that will leave you questioning if Mary Barra is truly fit to lead one of the largest automobile companies in the world. This is not a video you can afford to miss, so watch till the end. The shutdown of GM pickup production. Beginning on March 27th, GM announced a 2-week outage of the pickup vehicle facility in Fort Wayne, Indiana, a move considered to be a dire mistake from the GM CEO Mary Barra. According to an internal document that the Detroit News was able to get, the internal change was brought about by increasing production at a time when demand was stabilizing. According to GM spokesman Dan Flores, GM's full-size truck operations in Michigan, Canada, and Mexico will continue to build vehicles throughout this period. The firm also aims to aggressively manage inventories all year long. This halt actually conforms to earlier claims made by GM CFO Paul Jacobson, who indicated the firm wants to maintain an inventory of 50 to 60 days until 2023. That represents a reduction of around 30 days worth of inventory from pre-pandemic levels, while Jacobson said that current levels of demand do not need pre-pandemic production levels. While some people tend to look at this from the business point of view, could it not finally be yet another gross mistake by the General Motors CEO, Mary Barra, stacking up on her pile of previous mistakes? Well, somehow I do believe so. While it may seem like a smart business move in the short term, the long-term consequences could be catastrophic. First and foremost, pickup trucks have been a staple in the American auto industry for decades. They are the workhorses of the industry, and shutting down production of these vehicles will undoubtedly have a ripple effect throughout the entire industry. Not only will it hurt General Motors' bottom line, but it will also impact suppliers, dealers, and other manufacturers who rely on the production of these vehicles. In addition to the cultural significance of pickup trucks, there are also practical reasons why shutting down production is a bad idea. For one, pickup trucks are incredibly profitable vehicles for General Motors. In fact, they are one of the most profitable vehicles in the entire industry. By shutting down production of these vehicles, General Motors is essentially shooting itself in the foot. By shutting down production of these vehicles, General Motors is essentially ceding market share to its competitors. This decision could have long-term consequences for the company and could potentially hurt its ability to compete in the global marketplace. In the end, this stoppage is just temporary, and Indiana will continue to produce trucks. The stoppage, though, is a reminder of the car industry's ongoing upheaval as OEMs work to find their footing in a strange and new market. With plenty of inventory, GM may be able to cruise through the first quarter of this year as it switches its attention to selling current models and preserving profitability. Future GM EVs won't support Android Auto or Apple CarPlay integration. While General Motors lovers are keeping hope alive that the company's shutdown of pickup production doesn't turn out another horrible mistake from Barra, the woman CEO struck yet again with an even more devastating decision to remove Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone mirroring functions from its vehicles, a move not acceptable to GM lovers, and that could jeopardize the future of the company's cars. It is reported that by 2035, GM wants to replace the light-duty vehicle range with all-electric drivetrains, and as part of that shift, the firm will alter the infotainment technology it offers. According to a recent Reuters story, GM will gradually remove Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone mirroring functions from its next range of electrified vehicles in favor of a new infotainment system created in collaboration with Google. The 2024 Chevy Blazer EV will be the first car to quit supporting Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This decision is saddled with untold pros and cons. But first, let's start with the pros. The switch to a new infotainment system created with Google, as opposed to the widely used Apple CarPlay and Android Auto phone mirroring technologies, will enable GM to gather more information about how its customers operate and charge their EVs. It will also give GM a way to advance its strategy of using EVs as a platform for digital subscription services. By the 2030 calendar year, the car maker wants to earn $20 to $25 billion in yearly income through subscriptions, according to GM CEO Mary Barra. The new infotainment system will also allow GM to concentrate its technical resources and financial commitments on a single infotainment strategy, and allow GM's electric vehicles to more seamlessly integrate in-vehicle entertainment, navigation functions, and assisted driving features, such as the GM Super Cruise system. But everyone hates this GM's decision. Take, for instance, the Cadillac User Experience, CUE, was first made available to General Motors' most recent generation of premium cars and SUVs in 2011, as part of one of the brand's several reboots. CUE was a tactile feedback-enabled capacitive touch panel on the dashboard, a touchscreen infotainment system, and a system for integrating smartphones. Yet it was a complete failure. Owners and reviewers alike lamented CUE's latency, strange menu designs, and unresponsiveness at the time. CUE was dubbed the most hated infotainment system ever by Car and Driver, who compared it to a sexually transmitted infection. Despite repeated renovations over the years, the harm had already been done. The branding has since been dropped, and CUE is still a dark mark for Cadillac. After roughly 10 years, GM believes it can create software as well as Apple and Google. This is the indirect message passed by the news that GM's next electric cars would not support Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, preventing consumers from enjoying a native-like experience by mirroring their smartphones straight onto their car's infotainment panels. To be honest, GM has gone a long way since the CUE era, and like every other car maker, it is working hard to advance the development of connected and electrified vehicles. The dependency on Apple and Google to fix its poor interface issues is the result of years of subpar software from an auto sector that fell well behind the computer industry. People's confidence in conventional automakers has suffered as a result of their inability to provide a software experience that doesn't, for want of a better word, stink. The decision by GM immediately drew criticism from customers who are still using CarPlay or Android Auto. Given the poor software history of the automotive sector and the enormous popularity of the Apple and Android operating systems, none of it should come as a surprise. In fact, GM had boasted that it had more CarPlay and Android Auto-compatible vehicles than any other carmaker, as Reuters noted when it broke this news. Issues with smartphone connectivity, cumbersome entertainment systems, and unstable operating systems continue to be among the most common complaints from new vehicle customers. Because they simply function in a way that is almost comparable to the phones people are used to using every day, CarPlay and Android Auto have become incredibly popular. Nearly 80% of new car purchasers, according to Apple's own study, would only consider a vehicle that enabled CarPlay. Based on all of our research over the past few years, there's definitely massive demand and interest in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, said Robbie DeGraff, an analyst at the automotive research and marketing firm Auto Pacific. According to DeGraff, only calls for additional USB-C outlets in automobiles were in front of requests for such smartphone systems in a recent trend research conducted by his company. However, there are a variety of reasons for this change, all of which are emblematic of the difficulties that will arise when automakers strive to transition into tech firms in the age of electric vehicles. However, GM's choice to abandon CarPlay and Android Auto may be the beginning of a wider trend. It's certainly possible that more manufacturers may wish to give up third-party smartphone projection systems in the future, even as they work with businesses like Google to help develop infotainment systems and software suites. Mary Barra's mistakes as a CEO laid bare for all to see. Truth is, as humans, we're bound to make mistakes, and that includes CEOs too. But what sets great leaders apart is their ability to learn from their mistakes and make changes for the better. So, let's not focus solely on the shortcomings of Mary Barra, but instead, let's use them as a learning opportunity and strive to do better ourselves. And if you want to enjoy more insightful content like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching.